Al-Jaafari, Turkey violates the principles of international law through its intervention in Syria's internal affairs. Al-Jaafari, priority should be given to putting an end to Turkish provocative and irresponsible policies. Syrian Arab army units continue to launch military operations against the terrorist organizations across the country, inflicting heavy losses upon them. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Yerado Kikorian with the news in English. Syria's permanent representative to the UN, Dr. Bashar Al-Jaafari, said that there is a moral problem regarding the way in which the United Nations Secretariat is dealing with terrorism in Syria.
Al-Jaafari's remarks were made in a statement following the meeting of the UN Security Council to discuss issues related to the crisis in Syria, with the participation of the UN convoy to Syria, Staffan de Mistura, and Assistant Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Kyong-Wa Kang, via the internet from Geneva. Al-Jaafari said that he was wishing that the UN Secretariat staff were more neutral about the diagnosis of terrorist activities which Syria is exposed to, especially since after a long time of denial, the so-called international community reached the outcome that what Syrian government has been saying proved to be true. Al-Jaafari commended the efforts of de Mistura, who talked about his effort for achieving a political settlement in Syria, the choice which the Syrian government has been supporting. He stressed that it can't be denied that the Turkish policy is one of the causes of increasing the violence in Syria through facilitating the flow of the ISIS and al-Nusra front terrorists into the Syrian territories, adding that the ISIS disaster which the Syrian and Iraqi people are suffering from should be addressed in a serious manner by the international community, which must seriously fight against terrorists in accordance with the UN Security Council resolutions number 2170 and 2178. Al-Jaafari went on to say that there should be no selectivity in combating terrorism because selectivity indicates the lack of seriousness in the fight against terrorism, and that is the first challenge currently. On de Mistura's call on Turkey to help fighters in Ain al-Arab, Al-Jaafari said the Syrian government is against any foreign interference in Syrian affairs and against any violation of its sovereignty, as this is a red line, noting that de Mistura did not call Turkey to interfere in the Syrian affairs of Syria, but rather called it for facilitating the entry of the Syrian fighters who are of Ain al-Arab's inhabitants and fled to escape ISIS, adding that the Turkish authorities prevented Syrians from returning to Ain al-Arab to defend it.
Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Jawad Zarif stressed on the necessity of collective will to face extremism and terrorism phenomena and asserted on the importance that some states should change their viewpoints towards this issue. Zarif said in a statement in Beijing on the sidelines of his visit to China to participate in the 4th International Conference about Afghanistan that extremism and terrorism phenomena are spreading in the whole world, not just in one particular region. Therefore, Zarif said, we should face these challenges, as he stressed on the necessity of confronting such phenomena. On his part, Assistant Foreign Minister for Arab and African Affairs Hussein Amir Abdullahian stressed that Iran will give every possible help to the countries in the region to fight terrorism and extremism. Welcome back. Syrian Arab Army units continued to launch military operations against the terrorist organizations across the country, inflicting heavy losses upon them. Units of the Syrian Arab Armed Forces killed scores of terrorists, destroying their criminal equipment in the towns of Fayloun and Tal al-Lawz and in the surrounding of Taftanaz in the countryside of Idlib. Units of the Syrian Arab Armed Forces killed a number of terrorists in the town of Deir al-Adas in the countryside of Daraa city. In Homs, units of the Syrian Arab Armed Forces killed scores of terrorists and destroyed their gatherings and dens in the neighborhood of Al-War and in the villages of Al-Mishrfe, Arshune, Al-Qastal al-Tahtani, Al-Qastal al-Fuqani and Tulul al-Humr in the countryside of the city. In Aleppo, a Syrian Arab Army unit established control over a number of buildings in Al-Amiriya area, killing and injuring a number of terrorists who were fortifying inside them. In Al-Qunaytira, Syrian Arab Army units destroyed a number of terrorist hideouts with all terrorists inside them. Our people in Ain al-Arab to the northeast of Aleppo continued to confront the ISIS terrorists. Local sources said that a number of terrorists who belonged to the Free Army joined to ISIS and another group fled to Turkey. Press statements also said that some Turkish officers are leading the terrorists in Ain al-Arab. Meanwhile, the US-led coalition continued its air raids against ISIS terrorists in Ain al-Arab. The U.S., the Washington Post newspaper, disclosed that more than 1,000 foreign terrorists came to Syria monthly, despite the air raids led by the U.S.
French President François Hollande stressed the necessity of fighting ISIS terrorists and supporting what he called the moderate opposition. In turn, Turkish President Erdogan renewed demand to establish a no-fly zone to the north of Syria. Meanwhile, the U.S., the Washington Post newspaper, disclosed that more than 1,000 foreign terrorists came to Syria monthly despite the air raids led by the U.S. The new report by the UN Security Council also said that the number of foreign terrorists coming to Syria and Iraq has remarkably increased, referring that about 15,000 foreign terrorists joined the ISIS and other extremist terrorist organizations. The report also said that al-Qaeda terrorist organizations' presence retreated in favor of the ISIS.
Finally, the Iraqi forces took total control over BG in Salah ad-Din city and raised the Iraqi flag over the police station headquarters and the general hospital there. The spokesman of the Iraqi Interior Ministry, Brigadier General Saad Man, said that the joint Iraqi forces have liberated BG from ISIS terrorists, whereas the Minister of Defense has announced that liberating Al-Anbar city is coming soon. On the other hand, 15 were killed while 10 injured during a series of terrorist blasts in Baghdad, as the blasts targeted markets south and west of the capital. With this, we conclude our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Nariman Qassam after a short break.